Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. What's going on, brother?
Doing very well. You?
Doing awesome. You're out traveling right now, right?
Kind of, yeah. We're up just near Scotland in the Northern Lake District, which I love. I love this place. Just come back from a little bit of a hike about half an hour ago. So, yeah, it's nice. I love it.
It's a good day. It's a good day in Tim Matthews' world.
Well, you know what? I've changed up my routine and I'm loving it. I don't know whether it'll work for me once. There's a few little things that I'm going to try out, but so how I've changed it, just to give you a little bit of an insight. So there's a lot more learning that I'm doing right now. So what I've done is I've obviously started to get up at about an hour earlier, which is only 6:30, but getting up at 6:30, which is, I was getting up at that time before, but it was dark and it was just, I wasn't enjoying it, going for a morning walk in the dark. So anyway, get up at 6:30, do my walk, journal, meditation, breath work, condensed it a bit. So I'm done there by about 8. And then from 8 until about 10:30, I'm just cranking it out. And then at 10:30, I'm then taking off with Amelia, about 11 a.m., taking off with Amelia and going out and going hiking or whatever. But obviously by that time, I've done a lot of work, got everything out to the team. Most of the team are not online until about 2 p.m. anyway, 3 p.m. So it's been great. It's just been great to break that middle of my day up with something that I love and really enjoy. And then by the time I come back now, like at 3 p.m., 4 p.m., everybody's coming online and just have a few meetings with everybody to, answer questions and all the rest of it. And then done.
The lifestyle of Tim Matthews. Awesome.
I'm loving it. But the variable here, I was thinking about this morning when we were out on a hike. The variable here is that I'm not going to the gym, right? I'm that mid-morning thing, I'm going for a hike with Amelia instead of going to the gym. And it got me thinking today, because I thought, why am I constraining myself by saying working out and thinking the gym when I'm then missing out on being able to do things like this as my workout? It's so much more enjoyable. So it's interesting. So when we go back to Leeds, I don't know, whether this will change or what, but we've got lockdown for a month, which is I'm looking forward to, because it's going to give me a month to just play with this and just see how it works for me.
Yeah, make the outdoors your gym, right?
Yeah, maybe. So yeah, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. I actually got more than 3 hours of sleep. So for those listeners that have kids, I have a son who's got an ear infection. My daughter was sick before that. My son's a little guy. He's only 3. So been up the night, got up twice last night to get him, but much more sleep, which is excellent, right? Just, I know it's a game changer for me. You look at, the world of biohacking and these things of high performance with CEOs and executives. The first pillar I know, and it's my anchor pillar, is sleep. If I don't get enough sleep, I'll fight with my wife more. I'll be snappy at the kids. My decision-making process isn't as good. I'll reach for sugar, right? Sugar and alcohol and caffeine, right? Tons of caffeine and everything I can get. Then I want sugar to fuel me, and then alcohol to bring me down. But when I get sleep, it all just falls into place, right? Just all.
Same with me last night. I didn't sleep as well, partly because we were on meetings a little bit later, super excited. But the big trigger was I had a coffee at about 2 p.m. I drank it slowly, so I was probably still drinking it at 3:30. And for me, that just totally throws me off. Yeah. And then I'm more buzzed, so I want to work until late. So I was working until maybe 7 or 8. And then I was journaling and hung out with Amelia. Then I was messaging you again at like 10 o'clock. And I didn't get to, I was 1 a.m. I was still awake. But I know that's because of the coffee. So I just take that out. And
I know it's kind of cool to hear from you in the middle of my day.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, Tim is obviously in the UK. Some people can't tell, but he isn't from the UK, and I'm in the West Coast of the United States. So obviously a big time difference there coming through. But anyway, Tim, that's not what I want to talk about today. Today, I want to talk about deer.
So 2 of those. Just out there. I used
Salty
to.
deer. Well, not that kind of deer. So deer is an acronym, right? It's an acronym that's used to describe the way men really submit to their wives, right? The wife starts complaining. The wife, does a shit test or whatever you want to call it, and men go to deer. Deer is an acronym for defend, excuse, explain, rationalize. Right now, let's talk about that and break that down a little bit. Right. So what happens is a guy gets the girl, right? Gets his wife, and then he starts going down to it.
So it's DEER, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So again, he gets the woman, and he starts to, typically some guys start to put on some weight. They kind of take themselves off the market, so to speak. Well, the woman can get a little bored with that, right? And then maybe she's now testing him. So right now, as we're recording this, we're just tomorrow opening up a free 30-day Facebook group where we're going to actually tell guys how to get out of deer, right? How to get out of this symptom. And guys, if you're listening to this by the time it releases, you might still be able to get in, but we're closing the doors on Sunday. So maybe not, but maybe next time, if not. But anyway, so deer, right? So the guy comes in, and his wife might say something like, you're home late from work, or you're going out with your friends. And he might say, hey, well, I haven't gone with my friends in a long time. Defend, right? He might excuse it. Well, last time you went out with your friends, and therefore I get to have some time to go out with myself, right? He's excusing, right? And then he'll explain, well, I'm going to go out and see Tim because Tim's going through a hard time and Tim really needs me right now. And then he'll rationalize, if I spend some more time with my friends, then I can come back and be a better man for you. Right? She is one. He is submitting each and every time with that, right? Coming through. So that's deer. And deer's on opposite of deer, which we'll talk about in a little bit, can be the hidden motives technique, which we teach the men in as they go through the activation method. We'll talk a little bit about that today. Another example might be, well, you and I, right? You and I took off and went to Morocco. My wife didn't want me to leave. She wants me to be there, the kids, we have a great relationship. However, I went. I wasn't defending why I was going. I wasn't excusing, explaining, or rationalizing. I was following my purpose, my journey, which is like yours, Tim, is to help men around the world. I mean, that's why the Powerful Man is a movement, not just a training. It's a movement of men going through. That's the opposite of deer. Now, don't get me wrong. I used to do deer because that's how I was trained growing up to see it, right? I used to always defend and then explain what I was doing and rationalize it. Didn't use excuse as much, but definitely did that combination. And that's when things started to fall apart in my marriage, right? I can look back in retrospect and look at that and go, okay, I was trying to be the good guy, right? And put my needs last. Whereas getting away from that, using like the hidden motives technique, really getting some validation and really living my own passion, flip the script on that system.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. You said that that's what you used to do. It's often you get called selfish, right? That's often what the guys will get called. Oh, you're selfish. You're going out there. You're taking off to Morocco. But often, in my opinion, often the complaint is very rarely the actual complaint, right? It's like you say, when you don't use hidden motives technique and the validation isn't there, and I know a lot of the guys that are going into I don't think you did it justice when you said a Facebook group. It's a 3-week challenge that the men are going to go through, right? And with each week, they've got action steps delivered by you. Don't let that put you off, guys. Delivered by you. And the guys that don't take action between the first training and the second will not get access to the second. The idea being is by the end of it, the guys will be able to validate their wives. And the thing with this is, when the validation is happening, that's when these complaints of being selfish and meeting your needs, they just become a lot less frequent, because your wife feels full and she feels seen and heard and connected to you anyway. And because of that, you obviously feel it as well. So then even when these little comments do come up, you're just not reactive to it, because you're full, she's full. It doesn't have any real substance to it. And it's a great place it's a very playful place to be, in my experience, anyway.
Yeah, it certainly can be, right? And we also look at this idea of deer, right? And I think it's a great acronym, guys, to an acronym to put on to your laptop, your computer, your phone. Maybe it's just a picture of a deer to remind yourself not to fall into this. There's here's a way to think about it that I've heard described, and I can think about it. So I have a woman who's kind of my right hand man that works with me through businesses and things that I've had for over 10 years. Tim, you know who she is, right? I love her, right? I love my wife. I love my mother. But there's only one person that I'm intimate with, right? And that's my wife. When we look at deer, right? Deer is really exclusive, and we look at the hidden motives technique. That's what you want to apply to the person mostly that you're intimate with. Now, it can apply to everybody, every woman in your life. It's kind of like creating a little mystery. Or when you're first dating, she's kind of wondering, what are you up to in between dates? What's he doing? You're not living together. Eventually, you move in. That mystery starts to wane a little bit, to dissipate. And so what we want to do as men, as married men, especially, or men in a committed relationship, is we get to create that mystery. We get to create a little bit more distance, right? Yeah, you can be the guy that allows her to cry on your shoulder because you're taking care of her, but you also want to be the one who's not submitting, right, in the relationship. And there's ebbs and flows in a real committed long-term relationship. There's times where she may rise and you may go down a little bit, but all too often when we talk to the men, and we get to talk to thousands of you guys, right? So if I was sitting here talking to you, listening to this right now or watching this, odds are that inadvertently and unknowingly, you've gone from the alpha in the relationship to the beta. You've submitted. And part of this has to be with defending yourself, excusing yourself, explaining yourself, rationalizing. Because when you do that to somebody, you only do those things to somebody who you are subordinate to. Imagine in the States, Tim, we call it like a 4-star general, like the top of the military in the branch, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Marines, or what have you. Well, it's not all the same, but they're slightly different. There's admirals, but you get what I'm talking about. So say a 4-star general. Imagine a 4-star general coming to a newly enlisted person and saying, well, geez, I just want to let you know that I came to work or to the office 5 minutes late because my car broke down. And then, it was really tough at home. Would never happen. He would never submit to someone lower in rank, especially someone very lower in rank, right? It would just never happen. Now, the newly enlisted person would submit to the general. He would defend himself, explain, excuse, and rationalize, right? There's alpha and there's beta. Now, you can look at this other areas of your life, but specifically with your marriage, that's where it's really probably, I would argue, the most important. Your committed relationship with the person that you're choosing to be intimate with. And guys, you may be cheating on the side or doing something else, but odds are most men listening to this are resisting that temptation, right? Everybody's got that temptation, but they're resisting it to be intimate with one person. And a lot of guys that are listening to this are like, I'm choosing my wife, but we haven't had sex in 6 months, a year. Guy I talked to yesterday, 2 years, no sex. And he was following himself into this deer trap, right? He was always explaining, defending, excusing, and rationalizing. He become submissive. And that's just not sexy to a woman.
I was thinking then about the 4-star general and the newly enlisted guy. The reason why, or one of the reasons why that goes on, right, is because the newly enlisted guy is wanting to prove himself, right? Because he does have something to prove. He's newly enlisted. The 4-star general doesn't. He's earned the respect through his 4 stars or whatever he has on his uniform, right? So it's interesting when you take that analogy into the relationship, and if you find yourself using deer, right? Subconsciously, what that then is saying to the woman is that obviously you are having to prove yourself, and underneath that rationale of proving is insecurity. And if you're then insecure and having to prove yourself because you're not able to own your decisions, because you're too worried about getting the approval of her, then, like you were saying, it's not only that it's not sexy, but one of the main things for women, right, is that they want to feel safe. And if you're a guy that is then proving in order to get the approval, that tells her that, hang on a minute, if this guy isn't standing his ground, and he isn't confident in his decisions and he can't own them, well, where does that leave me? How can he then take care of me. And this is why the triad connection, right? Um, a big part of the hidden the activation method and what we expand upon in the brotherhood is the triad connection. And if guys, if you're listening, obviously not if you're driving, but if you took a piece of paper out and drew a triangle on the piece of paper, and at the bottom, write leadership. On the left-hand side, write intimacy. On the right-hand side, write communication. Essentially, that bottom foundational pillar of leadership is the live as a king system, which feeds into all of this, what we're talking about, right? Owning your decisions and knowing where you're going and so on, which is the opposite of dear. And then communication is where the hidden motives falls into both sides, intimacy and communication. Just like with anything, it's a triangle. If you remove either side, the triangle is going to collapse. The triad connection works in the same way. So yeah, it's a really powerful insight to just think of. I mean, I'm having realizations as we're having this conversation, as things are getting pieced together, right? So yeah, draw that triangle, guys. It's and that's what I'd stick on your desk alongside stick that triangle next to it.
We should get a printed copy for guys with the big wolf logo in the middle. It'd be cool. We all fall into this, right? This is kind of what society tells us. You watch TV or movies, it's kind of, in TV shows in the States, especially, Tim, usually you have the hot wife and the fat, chubby, nerdy guy in a sitcom. And the guy's always blubbering through life, right? He's always making mistakes and what have you. He's still got the hot wife, right? This whole thing really pisses women off too, right? Because they're like, wait a minute, why is a woman expected to take care of herself, but the guy's not? But the subtext of these shows is that the guy always has to defend himself, explain himself, and the woman's running the ship. The woman's running what's going on. And if you look at healthy marriages, and when I say healthy, I'm talking about sexually healthy, right? If you go to a barbecue or something like that, you can tell couples that are having a lot of great sex. As somebody who, I just did 6 weeks of sexual mastery for the guys in the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood is a 1-year mastermind group where guys pay $30K plus to be involved in that. And it goes on. And so we did one of the trainings, we did 6 weeks of sexual mastery. And part of that training is what we're talking about with the guys is how do you get that polarity, or what's talked about. I'm going to lose our whole thing. So guys, earmuffs for the kids, but women want to be called what's called a well-fucked woman. And you can see that. You sense that when you go to a couple, you see the way she looks at her husband. You see the way they act together. It's almost like a dance, right? And that's because he is not being a deer. He's being a wolf, right? He's being an alpha in there. He's not defending himself, excusing himself, rationalizing. He is being the alpha, and the woman is chasing him. She wants him. She becomes the deer. She becomes the prey, so to speak. Now, their love and intimacy and everything else, the connection is still super strong, like it is in any healthy relationship. Their spirituality, the way they take care of their kids, their partnership. And it's not to say that he's not doing anything around the house and he's just walking around eating a big, drumstick, like a caveman. That's not it at all, guys. The modern day man, the powerful man, is able to balance this extremely well. And his wife ends up being what women call a well-fucked woman. Now, women actually talk about this, and they talk more than guys. I mean, we also talked about it. Guys are like, well, my wife, she might not be into sex. There's a reason 50 Shades of Grey sold millions of copies. And that wasn't vanilla sex, right? That was BDSM, S&M. That was some serious stuff. The guy was alpha. He never fell into deer. He was very decisive. The money was one thing, but that's not the reason the woman liked the book. He took charge. He was alpha. He was the one. Millions, a bestseller across the world, guys. And there's a chances are your wife has read it. And she didn't read it because she didn't like it. Right? She just may not be doing it with you. Well, it's a hard pill to swallow, right? Thinking about that. But at the same time, there's a way out. We're just not taught this stuff. It's kind of like finances. For some reason in school, I don't know about you, Tim, but you're not taught about finance, right? You have to go out and learn it to really understand, like, oh, this is how taxes work. This is how investments work, annuities and all of these things, and how money can compound and all of those things about the finances. But you're also not taught communication, the hidden motives technique, the live like a king system. We're not taught that, and all men deserve that opportunity. Now, these systems were specifically designed for business leaders, right? Businessmen, because they have some movable parts in there that are better for businessmen. But all men deserve to know this, all of them. And we all slip into deer periodically, right? We all do. But you get to recognize when you're in this. And then you get to make the switch. And the more you do it, the more you surround yourself with other guys in this conversation, right? You said you're getting insights in this conversation. I am too, right? We're involved in this conversation. That's one of the benefits of the brotherhood, right? We're always talking to each other as men. So we're always in this conversation. So the idea of being a deer becomes a distant memory. It happens very seldomly. Mm. And allows us to control and guide the ship, so to speak, the destiny and the journey that we want to be on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. You raise a good point. You are going to fall into it from time to time. But it's not about being perfect. It's about recognizing the signs, knowing that you're in it, and being able to course correct quickly, right? Mm-hmm. You're always going to be weaving your way back and forth to where you want to go. But like you said, the guys that have this knowledge, it's more than knowledge, right? It's practice. The guys that have this muscle memory because they're putting it into practice and are surrounded in the conversation, man, it breeds into every other area of your life as well, right? It just naturally spills over. This is how a lot of the guys go on and end up, doubling, tripling, quadrupling the business with reducing their hours, doing the things that they thought were never possible before, because of everything. It's a spillover, right? Living from the inside out, the 5 territories, outside in, business at the bottom, then wealth, then relationships, then health, then self. Barely ever gets to relationships. Kind of always, never rises above business or wealth. But from the inside out, that gets flipped on its head. Self, health, relationships, wealth, business, it rises. You become full. You have a foundation, which can then handle the capacity of the woman that's in your life. Because if the guys listening, if you're anything like the guys we work with, my bet is that you are with a very strong, opinionated woman.
Yep.
That tends to be the way with the guys that we work with, right?
Yep. I mean, strong men attract strong women.
Exactly. There's such a gift if you choose to receive it and unwrap it in the invitation she's given you in order to be able to handle her. Such a gift. And that's what the guys in the brotherhood do. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. It takes time. Some faster than others, but you can see some quick wins with the hidden motives technique. But if you're listening to this, you've got to. If this is resonating for you, and you're listening and going, it's giving you that. You do something with this, guys, because otherwise, chances are one of 2 things are going to happen. Your wife is either going to rise further and become the alpha, which will then cause you to fall further at home. And then it's this disparity between being a leader in the business and being submissive at home. Guys often tell us in that position, they feel like an imposter, kind of waiting for the rug to be pulled from beneath them.
Yep.
Or she's going to fall and get anxious or depressed or even seek salvation in the arms of another man. It's happened so many times. I don't say this to create a threat. I just say it to give you a warning because, like you said at the beginning, we have the privilege of speaking to thousands of men. There's a pattern that we see. So do something with this.
Yeah, guys, take action is all we always say. If you're new to the show, I recommend going over to thepowerfulman.com/bonus and getting the Reignite cheat sheet that's up there. We keep putting that one back up there because guys are getting such amazing results with that. And if you've been listening to the show for a little while, I'm going to ask you to do 2 things. One is go ahead and rate this show, right? We want other men like you, amazing men, to find the show. And the way that they do it, the way the algorithms and all that stuff work is by you leaving a rating. We get thousands upon thousands of downloads. Yet you're busy like we are, and a lot of people just don't take the time. It would mean a lot to me personally if you leave an honest review for us. And also, I'm going to recommend you get on a call with one of our advisors if you're ready to take that next step. right? These are just advisors. These are men that have been through the program themselves. It's real world stuff, guys. We're not playing around. It's a movement of men coming together and really raising the bar. So guys, with that in the note, don't be a deer, right? Take action. Put that, as you said, go back, make the triangle like Tim talks about, the triad connection, right? And make sure you're not living in that deer mode. Until next time, guys, have an amazing day. Live a powerful life.